We are reading Oliver Twist, and we are on Chapter 16, Nancy Pays for Help. On the night when Nancy met Rose Maylie, a young man and woman set out on a dusty road to London. The woman was young but robust and carried a heavy bundle on her back. Her companion carried a small parcel wrapped in a handkerchief on a stick over his shoulder. "Come on, walk fast, Charlotte." "Is it very far?" asked the woman. "It's about 2 miles off at least," said Noah Claypool, her companion. "Don't whine. If it weren't for me, you would never have escaped from the sourberries." "Did you take the money from the till?" asked Noah. "I took it for you, Noah dear," replied Charlotte quickly. They went on without halting until they reached the place where London began. They arrived near the tavern, the Three Cripples. "I heard that it is a good tavern," said Noah. They saw that the old man was seated at the bar. The bartender called him Fagin. Noah and Charlotte sat down and ordered some beer and cold meat. "We've got visitors from the country," said the bartender. "I'm interested to hear what they are saying," Fagin said, and he started listening through a small hole between the two rooms. "I meant to live like a gentleman, so I don't want any more coffin-making," said Noah. "But we can't empty tills and get away with it every day," said Charlotte. "We can empty other things like people's pockets, houses, mail coaches, banks. I mean, to get into some gang that does such things." "You could help me too," he told Charlotte. That was all Fagin needed to hear. He entered the room, bowed to them, and sat down near them. "One has to empty a lot of tills to eat and drink like this." Noah turned pale to hear this. Fagin laughed. "Well, I'm that way myself, and I have taken a fancy to you both. In fact, you can join us," he said. "Would I have to give you our money if we join?" "That's right," replied Fagin. "What are your wages?" Noah asked. "Board and lodging, pipes and spirits free, plus you get half of what you earn and half of what the young woman earns," replied Fagin, and then he answered, "What part of the business are you interested in?" "I want to start with something that's not too dangerous," said Noah. "How about spying on some people?" said Fagin. In this way they discussed things, and finally Noah and Charlotte joined Fagin's gang. They decided to meet at 10 the following morning. The next day Noah and Charlotte reached the tavern at 10, and Fagin was there. "We are in trouble," said Fagin. "The Artful Dodger, who was one of my best boys, got caught with the silver snuff box he stole." Charlie Bates entered the room and announced that the owner of the snuff box had identified the Dodger and that he would go on trial that very day. Noah agreed to go. Fagin dressed him like a simple country fellow who was visiting the courtroom out of curiosity. Noah walked into the courthouse and approached the prisoner's dock where the clerk was reading out jail sentences for prisoners. Finally, the Dodger was brought into the dock. "What's the charge against you?" the judge asked. The judge was told that it was a pickpocket case. Then the judge asked for the witness. A policeman and an old gentleman appeared. "Take him away and lock him up," the judge told the jailer. The Dodger was taken off by the jailer. When Noah came back, he reported to Fagin and Bates about what all had happened that day. On Sunday evening at 11, Nancy put on her bonnet and prepared to go out and meet Rose Maylie. "Where is she going?" Fagin asked Sykes. "Just to get a breath of fresh air," answered Nancy. "Not going anywhere," shouted Sykes. He caught her arm and he dragged her to a chair, and in spite of her cries and struggles, Nancy could not free herself. When the clock struck midnight, she had given up the thought of going out. Fagin kept thinking about Nancy, her lack of interest in the gang's plans, her urge to go out often. Fagin thought that the girl had found a new friend and was tired of Sykes, even though Sykes had saved her from a life in the workhouse when she was a child. Fagin was eager to find out who her new friend was, and decided to employ Noah to spy on her. The next morning he told Noah that he needed him for an important job. "You will have to follow a young woman. Keep a watch on where she goes and whom she sees, and I will pay you £1 for this job," Fagin told Noah. Noah asked who the woman was. Fagin said, "She is one of us, but she has found some new friends, and I want to know who they are." At the time, Nancy was in the taverns, the Three Cripples, and Fagin pointed her out to Noah. Noah followed Nancy all week without results, and finally on Sunday night, when she walked toward London Bridge, Noah kept watch on her. The church bells rang, and it was midnight when an elderly gentleman and a young woman got out of a carriage and walked toward Nancy. They were Mr. Brownlow and Rose Maylie. "Why didn't you come here last Sunday night?" asked Mr. Brownlow. "Sykes forced me to stay back. Last time I could go see Miss Maylie at the hotel only after putting sleeping powder in his drink." Mr. Brownlow said, "Now listen, Miss Maylie has confided your secret to me. We want Monks to confess and to tell us what he knows. So I want you to describe Monks and tell us his whereabouts." "Well," said Nancy, "Monks is about 30. He is tall, dark, and strong, with dark hair and eyes, but his face looks very old. He has terrible fits of epilepsy, so his lips are purple and covered with teeth marks. Sometimes during these fits, he bites his hands, so they are covered with red sores. He wears a large cloak, but if you look at his neck, you will see a broad red mark, like a burn. He spends a lot of time at the tavern called the Three Cripples, and you should be able to find him there." "Thank you for your help," said Mr. Brownlow in a kind voice. "How can we help you? Can we offer you a safe place to stay either in England or abroad?" Nancy thanked him for his kindness and replied, "Though I hate my old life, I cannot leave it." Then she bid them good night, and she left. Once Nancy left, Noah crept out of his hiding place and went to report the matter to Fagin. Once Noah gave his report to Fagin, he sent for Sikes and told him everything. Sikes' temper was beyond control as he rushed home and entered the bedroom where Nancy lay asleep. He caught her by the throat and he dragged her to the floor. Nancy could not understand why Sikes was suddenly so enraged. "You are acting as if you don't know. You were followed tonight, and we know everything you said on the bridge," Sikes told her. "Then save my life as I saved yours and Fagin's," pleaded Nancy. She added, "You know the gentleman offered me a home abroad. Both you and I could go, and we could start an honest life afresh." Nancy held on to him very tightly. It was difficult for Sikes to loosen her grip. He finally freed one of his hands and got his pistol. He knew if he fired it, it would make a terrible sound and he would be caught. So he brought the pistol down heavily on Nancy's head. Blood rushed from her forehead, and she fell. Before she took her last breath, she pleaded for mercy. But Sikes took up a heavy club, and he hit her hard, and she was dead. Sorry, guys, that's kind of gruesome. Thus, Nancy offered to help Oliver's well-wishers at the cost of her own life. And that's the gruesome end to Chapter 16.